Today we invited India's second master scuba diver trainer and a certified diving instructor, Kanika Saxena, who is a remarkable cancer survivor too. We spoke about life underwater, sharks' temperament with humans, and we also spoke about how we can save our water bodies from the increasing pollution. Watch this entire podcast to learn about how you can contribute as a nation towards making the pollution-free oceans for our beloved water animals. But for now, just enjoy this particular podcast with Kanika Saxena on PWK. Love you guys. Enjoy, learn, and implement.
Okay, how do you want to do it? Let's go.
Impromptu. Because
Okay.
I just want to, I don't want to keep it scripted. There is no fun in scripted podcasts.
I agree. I try to make it fun for you.
Yeah, but make it scary as well. Because I want people to be scared of underwater,
Okay, we'll try that.
Underwater is actually scary. When you look, when you are on a boat or something, or a ship, or for that matter, if you are on a yacht or something like that, and during the night, it is actually scary.
It depends on how you're looking at it, but we'll get there. I will make it. You tell me what is your. Before we begin, I want to understand what's your style of interviewing and what is that you want to achieve out of this, and then we'll go your way.
So basically, my end goal is always to enrich people's knowledge. Like I have covered various topics, right from gaming, right from content creation, right from spirituality and everything. I have covered all the topics. I will be covering music as well. I have covered music as well. I will be singer is also going to come.
Okay.
He's actually a beatboxer. He would be coming on the show very soon. So I would be covering those topics. So my plan is to cover as many topics as possible on this particular podcast show, so that if anyone of any particular field opens my channel, he would be served with a lot of various platters around in front of him. So
Understood. And what's your audience?
my audience ranges from school, currently all the young guys, all the young audience.
Understood. Okay, let's go. Understood.
So how are you, first of all? And welcome to the podcast. This is your first time on the show, so welcome. And how are you?
Thank you, Kunal. And I'm absolutely rocking as always. God is great and people are kinder.
So how has your journey been so far, being a scuba diver? Because there is a lot more to ask. But before that, I want to know, how's your experience as a scuba diver? Because to be honest, even I want to do that once in my life. I don't want to be a trainer. I just want to do once scuba diving, because I have fear of height as well as I have fear of those sharks and everything. I want to let go of it.
If I told you something like, once upon a time, I was scared to even, I've been a swimmer, but like all Indians are, thoda haath pair maar liya, and that is swimming. From that to becoming a master scuba diver, India's second master scuba diver trainer, it's been a journey, but we'll talk about it. Your question was, what was your question? Your question was, how's the journey been?
Yeah.
I think simply diving makes you meet new people. Diving makes you form set of people or cohort of people who learn discipline, fun. If you're diving all across the world, you learn from different culture, different people. I always believe that it's not fun to be a kuएं का मेढक. It's good to know what's happening in the world. And last not the least, a lot of fun to be around various places. 72% of the earth is covered with water, and this is one means which takes you into the deep, and it allows you to understand how important the underwater or the water world is for us, right? And in times like today, I don't want to make it more boring, but natural crisis, the seas are raging, the oceans are raging, plastic is in the ocean. It is the system which balances the entire ecology, as we call the yin and yang, right? Earth, water, and skies. And to me, it's like I said in one word, if I had to say, it makes me feel humble and small.
So, like, when you actually did your first scuba dive, I would say, what was going in your mind before that, and what were your thoughts after that?
फट गई थी. I remember the first time I dove. I was in media. I was doing films, and then I told one fine day to one of my friends, and I said, "यार मुझे scuba diving करनी है." And they're like, "अच्छा, हाँ चलो." So I said, "कहाँ जाए?" So I went to an island known as Phuoc Island उस time पे in Vietnam. It still is there. Vietnam is a fad now. I've been traveling to Vietnam since 15 years. And वहाँ पे एक island है Phuoc Island. It was July का महीना है, and in July there was terrible sea, terrible ocean. The sea was raging. Island खुला नहीं था, and I literally reached one of the dive shops known as Rainbow Divers in Vietnam. They have chains across, and I told them, there was a lady there who was quite cool, and her first sentence was, "We will go." And so I had 4 people who entered the water with me. I'm an average, and I went into the water the first day. The first dive, I go into the water. It is literally like a storm. It's like a tsunami in the sea. The waters are rough. The visibility is 0. I got bitten by a sea urchin, so I had to come up. And rather, bitten is the wrong word. It was like I stepped on one because you couldn't see anything. I had 4 people, एक आगे, the instructor, and 2 मेरे side में and 1 पीछे, and I was like, that was the first instance, and I was like, shit, my knee hurts, and I wanted to come up, and I came up, and then I was like, अब डर गया तो मर गया. So, and then I went the next day back into the water, and I called the instructor. I said, "You know what? I'm not very comfortable in the water because I'm Indian." And she's like, "Let's do a little swimming session." And I think that changed. I went back, and she trained me, gave me some quick tricks, how to manage yourself, how to maneuver yourself. I went inside. Open water ke liye you need 4 dives, and I did 4 dives, and I was certified open water diver. And I remember my instructor at that point said, "If you can dive in this weather, Kanika, you will survive." I've held it very closely to me. So that's how the first dive was. It was literally a shit show. Nothing was seen. The instructor was literally half a feet away from my face, and it was literally a storm in the water. But here I am talking to you on the show.
When I actually see underwater, few things come in my mind. First is how scary. No. I mean, it is like, it is very scary because thanks to Instagram, it always scares us, to be honest.
Oh, of course.
So how beautiful underwater is. If you actually follow those travel influencers or something like that, who would actually show you how reality is, how really the ocean is. But in some reels, they would actually show you, like, they would use those heavy voice, and they would be like, "This is how scary the ocean is at the night time." And thank you. This is what we actually did not want to see. But yeah, you showed us, thanks to the algorithm, that this particular reel came on my feed. So yeah, so that is the second thing.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say? You ought to believe when you do it, right? Is the ocean scary at night, is your question. Yes and no. Everything is scary. Everything changes at night, right? Because there is no light. I mean, if I asked you to get out of your home at 12 in the night, and I would have told you, "Kunal, ऐसा करो, बिना light के चले जाओ, जरा अपने, go to the next lane and come back." And if it is like a silent road and it's going, you'll have all those horror films coming, and औरत walking on the road, that typical, Indian folklore. Diving at night is pretty much like that. But there is science to it. So please don't follow Instagram. And with due respect to the Instagram influencers, follow people who are trained, who have knowledge, who've spent years and years mastering this art to teach people and to open the mindset. So when we dive at night, there are a few rules which we follow. One is you don't dive too deep. You never do deep diving. You normally don't dive in the open seas. You always do shallow reef diving, etc. Or if you're on a liverboard, I do a lot of liverboard because I teach with a company known as Orca Dive Club. We do a lot of liverboards, but on those liverboards, you're literally diving. You know, the liverboards are parked for the night and you're diving under that at about 12 feet. Yeah, or about nothing more than on a good day, if the water was clear, the water is still, everything is nice and sweet, and you want to look at the nightlife coming in, then you look at about 8 meters. Yeah, you will not dive too deep. Secondly, there are lights, and when I say these are major lights, we carry those lights. We follow a rule that everybody has a light. You keep the light on your chest and you look up, you look around, there are people in front, there are people in the back. So it's as safe as it could be. It's like hiking on the mountain, right? It has its dangers. What if you fall off, etc., etc. Same logic. You follow the principle, you follow the rule, everything is fine. But if you have a different story going in your own head that, oh my God, a shark will come and bite me, well, yes. No such luck, unfortunately. And I want to tell you one thing, and I want to tell everybody who's listening to me, the animals in the sea or the reptiles or the fishes or the living beings which live in the ocean are far more scared of humans than humans are scared of them. They don't bite, they don't attack unless you probe them. So please don't listen to Instagram influencers. Everything in this world sells on either sex, or it sells on horror, or it sells on sensationalism. That's not true. I'm down about 3,800 dives in my career of about 13 years. Each time I go down in the deep blue, in the black, it's amazing. Imagine, Kunal, you go down and you see the nightlife coming to picture. So you will see crabs, taking their shells on their head and walking hunting. You will see other animals returning to their own little reefs or holes or, shells where they reside. It's beautiful. So the nightlife is getting active because they're going to hunt. And the day life is returning back. It's just stunning. It's like, imagine you and I go to office and we come back home. And those who work on the night shift are doing that. So mesmerizing, my favorite part, by the way. And by the way, I did see I think about 4 years back, I dove with nurse sharks, 18 of them in abject black in Maldives. And they were just swooshing across. They're curious animals. They love to intimidate you. They're curious. They're harmless. Like I said, they're more scared of you than you are of them. Beautiful. I mean, follow the rules. Follow what your teacher says. You're all good.
Second living creature that actually makes me curious about is the blue whales. I mean,
beautiful.
Do you ever get to see them?
I have seen a couple of blue whales. I've seen a couple of whale sharks, very prevalent in Maldives. Those waters are beautiful then. I've seen blue whales twice. Majestic creatures, and in general whales and all variety of them, I would say. They are huge. They displace so many gallons of water, right? But Kunal, they're so gentle. They're like a ballerina dancing in the blue. So much of grace. I mean, there are times, I've seen them so many times. I just look at them and I'm like mesmerized. I'm in what is the word I'm looking for? I'm like in a lighter way, I'm stoned. Yeah, and I'm like, wow. And they're just doing the thing. They're just moving around you. They're curious. They want to know who's this strange creature in my waters. And Beautiful. And I want to talk a little bit about sharks, Kunal, because like you said, I see a lot of people saying, do sharks bite? Do sharks sense blood? Do sharks eat?
There is a myth that if shark smells blood, it will come hunting you down, and the next moment you will be found in shark's stomach.
True, yes, true. And we'll talk about this. True, yes. I was in December. I did 6 days. I was in Maldives. I was diving in a place known as Mula. It is in Maldives, and there you dive with tiger sharks. Now, if you look up tiger sharks, they're the most dangerous being in the world. And Mula in Maldives is the only place in the world you can dive with them. We were a batch of about 9 of us, and there is which we were doing with Orca, and there is a shark whisperer. We call him a shark whisperer, and his name is Ina. And we were diving with him, and there was his entire gang there, right? And we dove. You respect them. And at any given point in time, we saw anywhere between 15 to 20. So we were diving with 20 tiger sharks. They would circle around us. They would come close. They would, and what these guys would do is they would drop chum in the water, means blood, in the pit. And then they would drop chum from blood from the boat. And they would have these tuna heads, which they would put in the center. And then you will see these gigantic creatures would come down, and we were behind in the coral. So in the nook and cranny of the corals, and we were looking at them, and amazing. I mean, they know that there are humans there. They know that there are people there, right? I mean, the sharp creatures, but they're not interested in us. They would just come, they're smelling blood. Of course, they've come from the caves or wherever they are, 17, 18, any point in time, eating the tuna, hitting all of that, and then they circle around you because they're curious. They want to know you. They intimidate you. Sharks are like a dog, according to me. Like, rather a horse, I stand corrected. A horse has only one master, right? Sharks have none. But they know, they are looking at you. So they know that they need to look at you. They know if they are intimidating you and you are intimidated, obviously you are in a vulnerable position. But you should know how to redirect them. You should know how to handle a situation. They don't eat human beings. They do not like human beings or human flesh. It is a myth. Humans are or look like seals. So when you are, diving, or when you'll never hear that there are dive accidents with sharks. You will always hear in news or otherwise that there are accidents where people were swimming and there was a shark attack. First, you have to understand what was that region.
Yeah.
What is happening in that region? Is there fishing happening? Is there something happening where these, creatures are not able to hunt? Or if they were in the water and their legs are hanging, right, in the water. So the shark reads it as seal. It mistakes human beings as seal and then it attacks for food. The moment, of course, by that time, the damage is done. But the human being is obviously, a shark attack is serious business. And it can cause you serious injuries and loss of life. But the truth is that you are entering in their land. You are entering in water which you're not supposed to be. So you are entering into somebody else's home. So you have to be mindful, right? We were diving and we did about 10 dives, in which 6 dives were with sharks. I promise you, they were curious. They roamed around us. Very intimidating, by the way. The first 2-3 times, there was a huge one, which was about 15, 17 feet, came straight on my face. And I was like, I've like I said, I'm almost 3,800, 4,000 dives down. And my heart was like, dug, 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 dug. That was how my eyeballs came out. And that day there was so much of, current in the water. Imagine 1,000 ton or whatever of 2 sharks banging against each other in the current. And they're moving, but like 8 or 9 people in the water, 4 or 5 shark whisperers, manning them, nothing. You have to be alert. You are in the water, you are in their area, but if you observe them, it's life-altering, Kunal. I mean, it really is. I mean, and then when you look at them, and what I learned is in these, I'm not an expert, let me say that, But like I said, for somebody who spent a lot of time in water, when you spend so much of time with them, and this was the second time I've dived with tiger sharks, I realized that you can understand their behavior, how they are parallel to each other, how is one above the other, how they're circling you, how they're looking at you, how they're intimidating you, how they're following you. Now, those are things which people don't know, a layman wouldn't know. But what I want to say is Hollywood fucked it all up and said that sharks and attack. No, please. Sharks don't attack. Of course, there are sharks in Florida and Miami, and you see a lot of attacks, etc. We have to understand what, why. Yeah, people don't. People believe internet is the best thing and the worst thing which happened to mankind. A lot of the truth is lost between, creating scary news. But believe me, beautiful experience. Please go for it.
You said that we have to understand, we have to redirect them, and we have to learn. I mean, how does one actually gets to learn all these things? How does one train himself or herself?
So now it's simple, right? I mean, do we even know how to redirect? Do we even know how to deal with human beings? How do you deal with human beings? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you, if there's somebody really difficult, how do you deal? You use one tactic with them, with another, and you will have different outcomes. Same thing with shark. Like I said, I'm not a shark whisperer. I'm not an expert, but from my own observation, hashtag, please don't take my words literally. When you observe these animals in the water, if you keep a safe distance from them, if you're not head on with them, if you don't touch them, if you don't want to click with the selfie pictures with them, you keep a safe distance, you maintain eye contact if it's near you. If it comes towards you, normally what you do is on the snout of the shark, you normally push it here on the snout and on top of the head. If it's coming very close, you can push it. Never try it, but I'm saying worst off if there was a situation like that. These are things I learned myself in observing. Or you push it in the side. Those are the things. But you don't go and put your hand in front of it, right? I mean, that's like really calling for trouble. So situations like these, I think very important is to be calm and to move yourself away from the, creature. Make space, make distance, and just move slowly backward, looking straight at it. You got to intimidate it, because if the animal realizes that it's intimidating you, you are vulnerable, right? And people or animals or whatever always preys on vulnerability.
How scary an ocean can be sometimes.
All the time. I spent about a year in Thailand when I was learning my diving, which was about 14 years back. When every day we used to jump into the water, I would do 5 dives a day. On a good day, on a bad day, I would do 4 dives a day. That's a lot, right? Every time I would jump into this, and so there were times in that period of a year, I jumped multiple times in the same place. So I knew the little nemo who lived. I knew the little octopus who lived there. I knew the little, crab which would move from here to there. I mean, you end up knowing. But every time you went into the water, my first 1 or 2 dives would be dug, 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 dug. You are jumping into the vastness. It is blue. There is less known about the ocean, right? Whatever scientists have found out, whatever people have found out, it is only that much. So your recreation diving is allowed only for about 40 meters, right? And most parts of the world, you can dive only 30 meters, not even 40, because of rules. After that comes commercial diving, tech diving. So the ocean is so vast, and it is scary if you don't respect it. It's changing, right? It's literally like I can jump on the same spot multiple times in a day and over the week, and then same spot will be different from current, from color, from visibility, from the kind of fishes, etc., animals you find there. Everything is different. To me, if you follow the rules of diving, which is very important, and I want to put this out a lot. I see a lot of influencers who've suddenly turned people taking with them for diving experiences, or I see a lot of people who go for cheap diving. I urge you, this is not your domain. You're not trained in this. There are people who've been trained in this. They have serious amount of experience. Please don't cut corners when you are diving into the ocean, into the deep blue. It's not your comfort zone. You don't put oxygen mask and go down unless until you're on a ventilator, and I hope in hell you don't have to on land. So when you put a mask, you follow the rules of what the guides say, you follow the rules of what PADI or SSI or whatever dive school you've learned from, and you'll be okay. You respect the ocean, and the ocean will respect you. Two things I always say: leave bubbles, take memories. Don't pick up things from the ocean. A lot of people come, oh, nice coral, oh, nice, shells. Imagine if everybody started picking. There are 8 billion people on Earth. The oceans will be empty.
There will be
Yeah. So you don't mess with the system. Yeah, you don't mess with the biology. And they say that the most ugliest thing and the most beautiful thing in the ocean is Delhi. So please, for Christ's sake, as great a picture it might be to show off to your friends on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, please don't do that. Respect that you are entering the Mother Ocean, and you, like every time, Kunal, I enter the ocean, I say a little prayer and I say, thank you for showing me what you're showing me, and I'm forever grateful that you show me your bounties, and I see awesome stuff. Most people want to go with me because they're like, oh man, when we come with you, there's so much to look at. I think when you go with an intention, like when you go for a meeting, you go with an intention. When you go for a match, you go with an intention. So when you go for an intention, you follow the rules, you have fun, you look around, you remain with your group, you don't dive alone, you don't try to act smart, you don't never break the rules of whatever the rules are, you're good.
Like, there have been I don't know, I've also seen sharks, by the way. I was in London with my family. It was around, how many, I don't know, maybe the year might be 2017 or something. We went to an aquarium and something, okay, and there I saw sharks and everything. They were literally standing calm. They were not moving. They were calm enough. They were only moving in that specified area, but there was no such behavioral activities which you would feel weird, just like movies show, thanks to Deep Blue Sea and movies like that.
Imagine if I lock you in your room and I give you water and food 3 times a day, and nobody's allowed to meet you, no friends, no nothing, no podcast, no music, no video, no nothing, and I just lock you in your room. Would you be the same Kunal who's right now with me on podcast?
No. Not it.
Or a Kunal who his friends might know differently, or parents might know differently? In the same way it is with these beautiful creatures. They belong to the ocean. They don't belong in an aquarium. I mean, they are apex predators, right? They're supposed to be in the wild. The wild means the ocean, because the ocean always balances. It knows what it is doing. So it's like the chain, right? I'm sure in biology you must have read that this feeds that and that feeds that, and that's how biology is the same way. These are the apex predators. They know how to manage the balance. They're left to be there. Please don't buy tickets having these poor things in the aquarium. Half the time they drug them in water. The other half of the time, these poor things have lost the zest of life. An aquarium is how much? 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, depending on where you are. But that's not where they belong. They belong in natural habitat. There's such interesting stuff about them, right? I mean, they go deep down, they come up, they migrate from one country to another, they mate, etc., etc. Now, those are things which are possible in their natural habitat. And that's why what you see in the ocean to what you see in the aquarium are very, very different. Like I said, if you shut me down in my own home, COVID did that to us, right?
Yeah.
You saw how people turned out. 2 years locked into your home. And what happened to you? Same way. So say no to aquariums. Say no to people going to aquariums and buying that ticket for orcas or dolphins or sharks or whatever. Please. They look beautiful in the deep blue. Go look, go dive. I always ask people, I am one of those people, I never preach to people why you should love the ocean or why you shouldn't kill. I only tell people, dude, come, learn how to dive, go look into the blue. You will never want, the experience is just like looking like a wow. It's just like, oh my God. It's just beautiful. Why would you want to destroy something like that? Look at the world we are living in. So to me, please, from your podcast on this means, I want to tell people, dive safe, dive with instructors who are good, dive with dive schools who are looking at the equipment, training people well, not cutting corners. It's not about the deal. It always is the deal, but it's not about the deal. A deal is not more important than your life. Dive safely. Know more about the environment you're diving. Diving and finding the flora and fauna in Maldives to Lakshadweep in India to Goa to Pondicherry or to Andaman or Nicobar or to Red Sea is very different, right? Find a little bit more about it. Follow the rules, and you'll be good as golden. In fact, by the way, once I lost myself in Maldives. It was a very it's an incident I always laugh about. I was in Maldives diving off a liveaboard, and it was a very bad day. My ears were giving trouble, and I lost myself alone. And I got drifted from the group, and then I reached almost 4-5 kilometers into the blue. It was 6 p.m. The sun was setting, and I came up and I'm like, shit, I don't see anything. And then I had my surface marker buoy, which says diver below, and I'm waving, but there are no boats, nothing. I was in an open channel. I remembered every god of mine, and I'm like, oh, how long will it take to, die in this water, because there's no way anybody can find me. I was in the water for 45 minutes on top, and I was like, oh, I can panic. Then I was like, oh, I am a diver. I started whistling. Thankfully, there were 2-3 other boats on the same channel. One of them spotted me, and the guy came and scooted me out of the water. Rest is history. I sat at night on the boat, looking into the ocean and peering into the ocean, and I thought, aaj to matlab bilkul ho gaya tha. I had remembered all the 2 million Indian gods with due respect. I remembered my folks, and it was scary. And then I realized that it was my fault. And why I narrated this story is that it can happen to the best of us. I'm trained. I train people in this. But every time you feel arrogance coming over you, it might cause harm. And that day, the arrogance which came over me was that I knew that my ears were bad, but I still do. And I thought and said that, I'm an instructor, what will happen to me? So, like I said, respect the ocean, and the ocean will respect you.
I just want to ask you that, nowadays you can see that pollution is getting on peak. The ozone layer is also getting harmed and everything. I want to ask you, how does that actually affects underwater and the life underwater? How does that affect?
See, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? The ozone layer is opening. There are rays which are coming to Earth. The same rays are going into the water. It changes the contour of the water. Means in cold temperature, the water is, becoming warmer. It should not be becoming warm, because it is meant to be cold, because the life there, whether the corals or whether the vegetation or whether the fishes or whatever living creatures are in that region are used to that region, right? Or if it is, let's say, in warm or temperate weathers like Southeast Asia, let's take Maldives for example. The water is supposed to be warm. It's a beautiful 30 degree to 22 degrees any time of the year in between. Now imagine if the water is turning cold, or if there is too much of sunlight happening, then the entire structure is changing. One is the behavior pattern of the living beings. Second is, like I said, it changes the cycles, right? It also changes the way the waves are moving. It also changes the way the tides are moving. It changes the entire complexity. So, to answer your question in brief, when they say that save the nature or be mindful of pollution, it just does not impact living beings like you and me. That we say that, oh baba re, kitna smog hai, I can't breathe. It impacts everything underwater, and the impact is many folds. Like I said, I began with saying yin and yang. 72% of the earth is still underwater. The rest is inhabited by man. So imagine, so if you read a little bit, it's a very complex question. I'm simplifying for you. That doesn't mean that these are the only points because of which this happens, but these are some of the points because of which this happens. If you read, so many floods happening in California. If you read, tsunamis which are happening, right? Why is this happening? I mean, you could just turn back and say pollution is different, plastic is different. In the Arctic, for the first time in years, I mean, ice is melting at breakneck speed. So all the animals and all the living beings which are living in the Arctic are impacted by that. So their behavior is impacted from their social behavior among each other. Their behavior is impacted from how do they bring food for themselves. Their behavior is impacted by how do they, copulate together, and so on and so forth. And then the man and human being lives with these beings, right? So we have to learn how to coexist with each other in a better fashion.
I want to know what safety measures do these divers take? There might be some safety measures, right? Before diving, actually.
Yeah, so we do a couple of things. If you're learning from a good dive school, and most dive schools, there is a lot which goes behind before there are divers on board, which means from the perspective of if there is an emergency, then oxygen, safety kits, if somebody's bitten, something has happened in the ocean, then anecdotes of that, injections, etc., etc. There's always oxygen. There will always be somebody or the other who's trained. All of us are trained to give CPR or any other medical condition, right? That's one. That's from the perspective of planning on the boat. When you are diving, we teach people that we do something known as simulation. So at least in India and at least at Orca Dive Club, we are very particular that we train people 2 days in the swimming pool, because Indians don't genuinely, not all of us can swim like a fish, because it doesn't come to us as a second nature. So we take time to train people. We go in depth in person to understand, can you swim or not? Like I've seen a lot of Instagrammers saying, hey, you don't need to know how to swim. Of course you need to know how to swim, because in PADI, if you are learning how to dive, one of the tasks, Kunal, is to swim 200 meters or do a tread for 10 minutes or even do a 200-meter swim. So if you don't know how to swim, then what? God forbid if there is an accident which happens, you need to be on the water, right? You need to remain afloat. Nobody's expecting you to be an Olympic swimmer, but that's one point, number one. Number two, we do something known as BWRAF. I don't want to offend everybody. So it is... I remember it as Buddha was round and fat, like I said. That's how I remember it. We do the skill BWRAF, that is before jumping into the water. We check whether your oxygen is on. We check whether your masks are fine. We check whether, your equipment is all, latched on. We check you have mask. We check whether you have fins. We check with each other, your buddy, what's going on, how are you, whether you are all ready to dive before you jump into the water. That's one. We also have measures which we teach in the swimming pool, that if something happens to you, what do you do? If you get lost, what do you do? That doesn't mean you go looking for your friend in the nukkad. It means that for a minute you look around and then you head up and you whistle or you wave to the boat to come and fetch you, so that you are safe and you're not lost underwater. Or what happens when, if you were not looking at your, compass, you get lost. Then what do you do? What do you do if, there is a bad tide? There are measures. What do you do? How do you check your oxygen? Imagine you're running low on oxygen. What you need to do? So there are enough and more. Every simulation we do, actually, there are about 16 to 22 simulations which we do in the pool to train you. That should something go wrong, you know what to do. And by the way, the beauty of diving equipment, and science is so advanced in today's time, Kunal, that all of this equipment is fail safe. I'm using the word fail safe. It means that even if it fails, it's safe, it'll take you out of the water. If you are mindful, if you practice what you were taught, you don't act rash, you don't act stupid, you don't act or come with machoism, you'll be fine.
We were talking about social media, Instagram and everything, and I just want to know that how has technology advanced the field of underwater exploration and conservation? How has technology played a role in all of those things?
So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening from technology. I'll give you small examples. With technology, you can understand the migration of some really important species. Like I said, sharks. I mean, with that, it is possible that you can see where did they migrate, what happened, how many children they have. You can, with technology, even do taggings, and you can see the behavior of each of these sharks. For example, there was this film on Netflix known as My Octopus Teacher, right? Possible. So you understand through technology, you can, depending on what are you researching on, a lot of people research on reefs. So reef restoration technology can be used. You're reading how the bleaching is happening. You're putting artificial wares there, or you're putting, you're taking out plastic from there. You're understanding how the behavior of the reef is, how is the behavior of every living being there. That is through technology, it's possible for you to understand what do you need to do to restore those reefs. Like I said, for shark it is done, for whales it is done. It is even done to understand how dead corals, or that area where corals have died, how do you restore those areas with artificial corals so that the entire ecosystem is formed. Lot of work is going on. There are a lot of ocean conservation societies who do this work. You don't hear much of it in India because as a society we are still, this is a very specific this is a very specific segment, not many jobs in this area. So for example, if you were a marine biologist, if you studied marine biology, you will be able to go and join any of the dive centers or one of the government pieces where you can go and study, like I said, fish or the vegetation there. If you are just a biologist, you could do that. If you are in the field of technology and you can find ways and means to marry water, its movement with science, those are also possible. So advanced field, a lot of money unfortunately doesn't go into this segment. But there are independent bodies, there are institutes across the world where people study these behaviors, because we need to know, right? There are migration studies which happen, that what happened to sharks in a certain area, or what happened to, let's say, dolphins in a certain area, what happened to them, where did they disappear? So you can understand what the animal is doing, where it is, what is the behavior, when was it pregnant, when was it not pregnant, when did it mate, when did it not mate. All those things are possible, but a very expensive proposition.
I want to ask, how do different underwater ecosystems vary, and what challenges are they facing presently?
How do I answer this? It's a difficult question, not because I can't answer. I'm trying to make it simple. How do the underwater systems differ? They differ simply from the perspective of depth. So I'll give you an example. What happens at 10 meters is very different than what happens at 30 meters to what happens at 60 meters to what happens at 100 and 200 and so on and so forth. All these depths, and I was talking about 10, 20 in relative terms, of course, from 0 to 100. Your flora and fauna is changing. Your animals which reside at those levels change. How they hunt, how they eat, how do they live in those environments change. as you grow deeper, as you go deeper, light loses, the light goes, so all the colors of the light go. As you go deeper and deeper, the only color which you perhaps can see is yellow, and all your colors change, right? Your Vibgyor colors change. Now imagine everything. What does the universe comprise of? Why does the universe flourish? Because of sunlight. So as you go deeper, that sunlight doesn't exist. So it's beautiful, Kunal, to see that at serious depths where there is no sunlight which can reach in areas because perhaps the water is not clear, you will see a different kind of flora and fauna. I'll give you an example. I was in Phuket Island, and I'll come back to Phuket Island in 2014, and I was in a place known as Natrang. And I went for a 40-meter dive, which is about 120 odd feet, and I jump off the boat with that instructor, and he gives me a little pony. Pony means a little bottle of oxygen beside the one on my tank, and he said, when you come at 18 meters, you will, take some oxygen from this pony. I went down 40 meters. And Vietnam is beautiful. So 10 meters, 15 meters, so much going on, so much of greenery, so much of color, so many fishes, blah, blah, blah. 10, 20, 15, 20, 25, 30, silence, rocks. 35, we hit 40. Nothing. It was just rocks and silence, and like you told me, and I was a newbie at that time, like, shark aage to kya hoga, shark aage to kya hoga? And I'm like, in my head, I'm going on, oh my God, the silence. And the beautiful piece is that in water, you can never understand the direction. So you will feel something is coming from left or right, but that's not the truth. It would be from very, very different places. Coming back to your question, now I gave you an example of a Vietnam, and I gave you an example of how you go in depths. Now, relatively speaking, this, if logic you had to put across different geographies, you will have the answer yourself. So, for example, in India, where there are warm water, we have warmer waters, right? At least in Andaman, you dive, or Lakshadweep, or Goa, or Pondicherry, warm waters. It's different. In Maldives, the same thing. But if you went to Egypt, this ecological balance will be very different. The animals are just to do that. The plants which are growing, in that system are growing and thriving in that cold water. If you go to Egypt, places like Marsa Alam, Ras Al Khaimah, or Hurghada, very cold water. You go to Jordan, you go to Aqaba, extremely cold water. And how does the composition change, you ask me? Now, for example, I was diving in Jordan, I was diving in Aqaba. You have to wear a 7 mm or a 5 mm suit because it is so cold, and the water is more salty, including Egypt. So if a normal day I wear 4 belts, I would wear 8 belts because the salt content is so heavy that it takes that much of weight to sink me. Now, all these, that's what I said, that the earth is so beautiful that it adjusts itself everywhere. How are we as human beings? We adjust ourselves, right? I mean, if you're in cold, you've adjusted yourself. If you're in warm, you've adjusted. India sees 4 climates, right? Or more. You adjust yourself accordingly in each climate. In the same way as nature. So every other place, the adjustment of nature and those living in it is as per that particular region. And if that had to go or move or be disrupted, that's where disruption happens. That's why you see so much going on. I'll give you another example, and so many times we read, I don't know, have you heard of shark fin soup?
Yeah, I have heard.
Shark fin soup is a delicacy.
Yeah,
and most places in the world think that sharks should be killed because they kill people. Firstly, you are in the ocean, you are in their space. It's like somebody comes to my house and my bedroom and kills me or enters my home. What are you going to do? You will either beat them, you will throw them, you'll call the cops because they've intruded in your privacy. You're doing the same thing. That's number 1. 2, you know what people do? They kill these sharks. And Kunal, see some documentaries. What they do is they just cut their fins, okay, and they throw them in the water to drown. They don't even use the meat because shark meat is very highly laced with mercury and is not edible. It's the shark fin soup which is the one which gets the dollars. So you are you're not doing responsible killing. Big trawlers, right? They're killing these fishes. They're killing these sharks. Are getting attacked. They are getting them for not even meat. So if you do responsible consumption, and I'm not before the vegans and those who are vegetarian, attack me, I want to very politely say here, everybody has choices of what they want to consume in life, and yes, I say that we are killing a life, but all I'm saying is responsible consumption for us to be in the balance is what is required. And when we don't do that, that is when you see accidents happen. That's when you see the behavior of the ocean changes. And to me, the ocean is not the how blue the water is, or how beautiful the coral there was, or how beautiful the geography was. It also means who's living in it and the ecosystem which creates the balance.
Before ending this podcast, I want to ask two questions.
Please.
First one will be, what are the lesser known facts about ocean that actually fascinates you?
What do you want me to be really cheeky here, or what do you want me to be?
I want you to be you in this right now. I mean, in this particular answer.
Okay, so lesser known fact about, like I said, I already told you that 72% of the earth is covered in water. I think 37 out of 50 minerals can be found in water. I don't think so. You knew that?
No.
We see that in land. The ocean adjusts, influences, and regulates the Earth's climate. It is like the planet's heart. Yeah, it's very important. And the last one, there's enough salt in the ocean to cover the whole surface of the earth. And my favorite one is, to me, when you dive into the ocean, and this is the lesser known, more philosophical, when you dive into the ocean and you just look, Kunal, you feel so small. Imagine a little one spark, one little puny thing in the vastness of it all, and you see life in front of you. It's like the movies. It's like you're actually standing in outside a fish aquarium. So when you go to Dubai and you stand there and look at the aquarium in Dubai Mall or wherever you are, you look at the beauty around, you feel you're so small. You feel that, oh my God. But a small you and many of you, and that's 8 billion people on this earth, are the ones which comprise of how we call Earth coexisting. So I hope I've given you some interesting facts many people don't know. And the least fact people know about the oceans is sharks don't bite. They don't kill humans. Unfortunately, they don't like us. They don't like our meat.
I want to ask two more questions before ending this.
Yes.
Because I don't know why this topic actually fascinates me a lot. So,
sure.
I want to ask that, how can listeners actually contribute to ocean conservation, and how they can put efforts into their daily lives in conserving the ocean?
Very small things. Very small things. You don't need to be, a marine biologist, right? Simple. If you live near a beach, please don't litter the beach. Please don't, if there is plastic, please pick the plastic. What happens is the same plastic goes into the ocean. The animals eat it. They choke. They die. In food chain, we eat the same fishes. It has the plastic in it. I'm a cancer survivor. The latest news which you would have heard was that so much of cancer is happening because of the plastic which is in the body, which is found in human body. Now, all of this is linked to the consumption from the ocean as well, right? That's one part. 2, If you are in the ocean and if you are swimming, diving, or surfing, or whatever you're doing, don't litter don't throw in the ocean. If you're smoking, if you're a smoker, please don't throw the cigarette butt in the ocean. Please put a bag. As a good habit, I want to say, you don't litter in your home, right? You don't poop on your bed or pee on your bed. You go to the restroom and use the restroom, right? Or you have places when you don't spit in your home. Why should you do that in the ocean? That's one. Two, tie up with the local. If you live near water, tie up with the local, dive shops or authorities. If you're in Bombay, there is enough and more which happens on Juhu, on Mahim to do beach cleanups. Contribute to that. You will see these little efforts. You will see turtles on the beach. You will see the water cleaner. Imagine. I sometimes feel so unfortunate. We live in Bombay, for example, Kunal, and we live by the water, but you can't get into that water because it's so dirty. Yeah. So if you do things like these, you don't have to be a marine biologist. You don't have to change the world. You just have to change your own self. So no plastic, no cigarette butts in the ocean. If you're diving and you're a diver, always carry a little bag, whatever plastic or whatever. You pick it up and you put it and bring it back. Don't think, "Arey, main kaun sa duniya badal dunga." The world will change when you change, and you can change the world. Yeah. If you're really interested in it, in today's time, specifically for the younger generation, there's so many courses which you can do to understand how can you conserve. You can do science projects to understand that. There are so many people who are doing startups. Please, somebody do a startup to understand how to clean the oceans cheaper. If you really are interested, talk about it online. Do campaigns online on specifically hunting, responsible consumption, I'm going to call. Don't hunt just because you can kill.
Well, I believe this particular podcast would actually, educate many young children out there, because luckily my maximum audience is of school going and college going.
Then if that is the case, Kunal, and I want to say that I want to turn back and tell it for all the young people, the earth is slowly dying, and I don't mean to sound very, alarming, but that's the fact. The world is changing. I always say that I'll be dead and gone by the time I will see impact, but there are a lot of young people. India is one of the youngest population in the world. And for those who ever are listening to me, please be conscious of your oceans. Please ensure that you consume constructively, responsibly. Don't, when you jump into the water, when you're in the water, don't just pluck anything in the water, because you can. And it's beautiful. Oh, nice. It'll look nice in my drawing room. You are disturbing the ecological balance. And many yous will one day make the ocean empty. Yeah. The most important thing to me is that if you are diving also, don't go and, climb on, corals. Don't touch things. To you, if you are, finning and you've broken a coral, to you might get a scratch and you'll come to the doctor and say, "Oh, I got a scratch. Please put bandage." But that live reef will take thousands of years, Kunal, to come back. That much of harm can happen. I see a lot of people, when they're diving, touching a turtle's neck, for example, belly, or being very close. You are scaring the animal, right? For example, turtles. Now they have a little green, I'm going to call let's call it a gel, for a lack of a better one. I'm talking very simply, so that people understand. If you touch that, you have basically ripped it off its protection shield. The microorganisms there is keeping that turtle healthy. You've gone and touched, and 20 people touch it, that turtle is bound to die. You're weakening its immunity system, right? So I think what is very, very important for people of today is that, guys, the world really depends on you, because we people are really just, forced to, I don't know what's wrong with humanity, but my urge is be responsible, have fun, enjoy the adrenaline, enjoy the excitement, enjoy the thrill, but coexist. And if you coexist, you will understand that the beautiful ocean can give you so much. Yeah.
Ma'am, you said you are a cancer survivor. Okay, like
Yes.
so before I asked any questions regarding that, I want to firstly, get the consent that are you comfortable enough to talk about?
Yeah, I'm fine. I speak a lot about it, and I've done enough and
Because
more podcasts,
there are,
etc.
you are a cancer survivor and you are a scuba diver.
Yeah.
As people say, as everyone say that if your health is good, you can do anything in the world. So I want to
Yeah.
ask you that when did this happen and how did you actually come out of it? Because to be honest, this is like an achievement for it. Been very frank about it.
Yeah, I think so too. So I was diagnosed with, I was in 2021, I was in Serbia skiing in the Serbian mountains, and that's when I felt a lump in my breast, and that's when I realized that something was off. But I'm normally very happy-go-lucky. I went roaming around the world, and I came back in March of 2021, and that's when I went to the doctor and I was diagnosed with cancer, and breast cancer to be precise, and felt a carpet was taken off. My first instance was what will happen to my hair, and therefore the short hair, Kunal. I had very long hair. You would be asking me questions, how do you manage your hair? That was one. Two, I went through multiple chemos, multiple surgeries, and radiation, etc. So 2 years I was out of my beloved water. I couldn't dive inside because I had surgeries on both sides of my chest, and it was literally like I was not living. And I kept telling my doctor that, dude, fix me. I gotta go into the water. And I mean, actually, after my surgery, the doctor said, go, Kanika. The ocean heals. And Kunal, you won't, I'm not kidding you. I obviously was very weak because it's serious business, but I knew that this was not the end. Every time when I was stressed, I would think of myself. I was sat on that chemo table and I would think of myself in the deep blue and suspended. And I love my whale sharks and sharks. So to me, it was just imagining me in the ocean, and that helped me heal. And this is no mumbo jumbo. That helped me heal. I couldn't get into the water. I teach diving this year, beginning, in fact, this year is January, but beginning of June last year, I started going into the pool. I was not in the ocean, but the joy of like, I'm closer to where my, passion lies was healing itself. December of 22nd last, which just went by, was the first time I went. I told you I went to dive with the tiger sharks. I was very nervous because 2 years I had not entered the water. My strength was not as I could be. I've gone through so much. So I was very apprehensive, and I went and dived the first time, and it was like I never left. Everything came naturally to me. I knew like my knees hurt because of the chemo. I'm in recuperation and I'm in rehabilitation. I promise everything was the tide, the sharks, it just the entire environment, right? I think it healed me. What medicine did to me physically for these 18 months, this time when I dove into the water, those 10 dives, it healed me mentally and emotionally. And I think to me, I follow the power of gratitude, and not because some people might think that I'm an old hag. I'm still at 16, young as 16. But to me, Kunal, I think when you live your life with gratitude, and when you live your life with nature in the same, I think you will live a healthy life. And yes, you're right. If you have health, you have wealth. And cancer taught me that. I've never looked so good as I'm looking today. I've never been so healthy as I am. I was young once upon a time. I still am young now. On a very serious note, I was 16. I was 17. I was 15. I've been 25. I've drank. I've smoked. You can't even think of things I've done because I've worked in media and entertainment. I've had a full life. I still enjoy all those things, but I'm just a little bit more responsible towards what I do while I'm having my fun, because truly no money in the world can buy for you good health.
You know,
So
the more we come closer to the ending, you are introducing more and more new things that you are a scuba diver. Then you said you cancer survivor. Now you're saying that you worked in media. I want a part two. I won't be able to suffice all those things.
Done. I will give you my part two. But like I said, to me, cancer taught me gratitude. It taught me discipline. It taught me that if I do not take care of myself, I'm going to die. And there were days, Kunal, where I couldn't get up. And I would be like, oh my God. There were days I would just put one hand like this, but I moved. I had a hashtag one day at a time. I talk about it. And of course, I had great friends who are like my family. I would give my life for them. I am alive because of them. And I just kept moving. My biggest joke with my friends when I was going to surgery was, अगर मैं मर गई ना, तो मेरी अस्थियों को ना तुम समुंदर में डाल के आना. Or Maldives is my favorite. I just want to be with my beloved ocean.
I want to know that how you said that you became weak, which is but obvious. But I want to know that, how did you actually prepare yourself, train yourself to come back again?
Okay, I'll try to simplify it. When I was diagnosed with it, of course, 2 weeks I sobbed and cried. I couldn't hear. I'll be stupid to say that it didn't impact me because I've traveled 70 countries. I'm always on a flight, great life. And suddenly one fine day you find yourself on a hospital bed. It was really hard. Harder was to lose my hair. But I have 5 of my friends, and like I said, my sister Shimona, my friend Abhash, Shazia, Sapan, Marina, Achin. These were my friends who were like, you know what, this has happened. We are in this together. People say things, Kunal, we are in this together, but these people were in this together. 18 months. Not a single chemo, hospital visit, doctor visit, medication visit, insurance, babysitting me. They never left me alone. Their families, their jobs, their life was, secondary. I counted 1,200 bouquets which came to my home. I had people doing dua. Somebody was reading Quran. Somebody was doing Mahamrutyunjay Yagya. I don't know. I must have done something really nice in my life. I can feel important and say, I'm great, but no. I think it was a love of people, and that kept me going. So there were days which were very difficult. I would sob and I'd be like, ab mujhse nahi hoga. There were people who were unkind. Like, I lost my hair, I lost my eyebrows, I lost my eyelashes, and they'd be like, wo dekho takla ja rahi hai. Oh, ladki ganji. People are unkind. But you can't let that impact you. I didn't wear a wig. I was like, I will appreciate and respect myself. If life has got me to this point and I'm dealt with this, I will deal with it. I learned to look at myself in the mirror and say, yo, I still rock, man. I wore lungis at that time. I wore skirts. I did whatever. So I did things. And then I realized, oh my God, I moved one day. So to me, every day, my friends, when I was weak, would turn back and say, we will move one day. So if we couldn't move, we put a finger out. If we moved, and I would climb. So I would go for chemo. My chemos would be 14 hours, and for 2 days, I'm like flat. Even then, my knees would hurt. I would wear, those bands on my knees, and my 5 friends would come and we would climb because I had to build my resilience. Because if I break down, I'm fucked. So it's all in the head. I would climb up, and then the doctor would be like, bhai, you don't look like a cancer patient. So I would walk 10 kilometers. I was eating out of an Excel sheet. I had a dietitian, God bless Kashish. She was the one who ensured that I was healthy. And I kept going, Kunal. In my mind, I was practicing gratitude. I was thanking the universe. I would go and sit on the chemo chair and say thank you. I would say thanks to the chemo drug. It was painful, but it was healing me, right? So I have to say thank you to it. So the power of healing, the power of gratitude, the blessings of people, working every day towards fitment, all of these things. And like I said, above all, God, I'm talking in front of you. I just finished my treatment, and December was the first time in my 2 years I went and dove. And I'm back to my teaching, my diving. I joined my work. I was working from home. So I only have gratitude and gratefulness for the universe and people.
You mentioned that you used to climb even though your knees you used to pain. I just realized that
Yes.
even I have a very bad injury on my right knee. I
Okay.
got that injury while playing football. But then I remembered that yesterday only I did legs. I did squats, I did lunges, I did leg press, I did leg curls. But then I, came to know that we have to go, we have to do. There is no other option. So yeah,
There isn't,
maybe.
Kunal, because it is not the end till it is the end. You get up each day and you try. Some days you will succeed more, some days you will succeed less. Like even today, I have radiating pains in my knees, I get pain in my hands. I'm a diving instructor. Once upon a time, I could pick up a 100-kilo man in the water as a rescue diver. Today, 100, no, 70 for sure. But if you were drowning, I promise you I won't let you drown. It's all on the head. It's all in the head. And I want to tell people that no matter what life will bring to us, if you have a positive attitude, if you have a plan, and the plan cannot be an Excel sheet, because there is a famous saying that man proposes, God disposes. But you have to have the honesty in your heart, and you have to have the compassion, and you have to have the line of sight. You will reach somewhere, and you keep going, no matter what. You keep going. There is a saying. It's my favorite saying, which is no balls, no story, no goals, no glory.
Thank you so much, Ranita ma'am, for coming on the show and blessing us with your immense experience, knowledge, and everything. But just as I said, this is not the end. This is the end of the part one. I would still want to know your media and entertainment, because believe me, it is one of my favorite topics. Like,
Okay, we will give you another interview with media and
because
entertainment,
my
and I'll talk
mom,
about my.
questions me, right? Are you friend of Hrithik Roshan? Are you friend of Shah Rukh Khan? Why are you so excited and why are you so happy with their news, or even after their movie crosses 1,000 crore mark? I'm like, ma, it's my favorite topic. But
No,
I'm
I
just
understand, and media entertainment is growing beautifully. I mean, like I said, I've spent 21 years in media. We'll definitely talk about. It's been a pleasure, Kunal, and you rock. I hope you reach out to many, many more people with your podcast,
I'm
because I
actually,
think this is
trying to
something.
bring another scuba diver. Another scuba diver. I'm trying to invite her. Because of the numbers, I'm not able to approach her, but still, I'm trying to get in touch with her. I will be inviting her. And
If you need another divers to speak to, you let me know. I will get one of my boys to give an interview to you. Yeah?
definitely.
Yeah, at Orca. It's not a problem.
I
And
so wish that I was living in Mumbai, because living in Pune and being a podcast is very challenging, because Mumbai is filled with stories. To be honest,
yeah,
literally
yeah,
each and every person
yeah.
in Mumbai is there to give you content. But in Pune, it is not like that. Pune has a different thing, different scenario altogether. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm just working and growing and trying with my best to settle down in Mumbai and open my this, because Mumbai is everything. I mean, honestly, I like Mumbai only and only one reason, because there are so many people out there who are doing something or the other, and they are good at it. They are amazing in their particular field. And I believe if I was living in Mumbai, I would have been able to bring more amazing people. I mean, I do online podcasts because there is no other option. If you
But
ask
that's
me,
all right, Kunal. That's all right. It takes time. And sorry
yeah,
to interject here. It's about you, because you live in a digital world. The beauty of it is that everybody is accessible, right? Once upon a time, back in the day, that was not the case. Don't lose heart. I was talking to Triggered Insan. He came to our office, and I think that's where you saw one of our hosts, and I was just chatting with him. He does all his stuff घर पे बैठ के digitally. Look where he is. One of the guys. Beer Bicep today, of course, has become more like a talk show host. I mean, we can debate about his ways of podcasting or what he does. They're different, but I work in entertainment, so music and audio is one of the segments I do for Vodafone Idea. So believe me, keep going. Get stories, get tales of people who are doing things differently. Reach out to a very sharp set of audience, and you'll succeed.
yeah, definitely. Like, we are bringing like amazing people on the show. I I'm in touch with them. We are bringing mostly horror. Then currently the horror one is coming. Your
Yeah.
podcast will be the start of a new playlist that is underwater
Okay.
sea podcast and everything. So I will be
Okay.
bringing more people of this particular genre.
Sure, let me know. I'll get you the top man. His name is Anis Adanwala. Look him up. He's one of the Pitajis of diving. Very, very renowned guy. Yeah, he's one of the oldest people in this country. He does shoots underwater and stuff for Bollywood. I have done that too. I work with him on in underwater films. So he's there. Azim is there. There are enough and more people I know. Happy to give your name to them and recommend them to speak to you.
Definitely. But till then, thank
Take
you
care.
so much, Tanika ma'am, and I wish you all the best.
And you.
Thank you.
Take care. God bless you.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
So this was Kanika Saxena, India's second master scuba diver trainer, a certified diving instructor, and a remarkable cancer survivor too. I am sure her story showing us the power of resilience, determination and passion has taught each and every one of us an important lesson. And I'm also sure this particular podcast must have taken you back to your school days too. If you like this podcast, then please give it a big fat thumbs up like. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe the channel for witnessing more such amazing episodes. Team Tuna Tultani and Team PWK will be back with more such amazing episodes. Till then, keep diving. Love you guys.